All right, we are live. Welcome to this month's town hall. We have a really special session this month. We are being led by Elizabeth Dicker, who's a disability rights educator and advocate and Special Olympics athlete in New Jersey. And with her, we have Erica Bookout, an Area 9 athlete with Special Olympics Virginia. And we are talking about strength-based employment this month. So these ladies are going to take us through some concepts about what it means to identify our unique strengths and our skills and our needs and our values and interests to identify the right job fit for us in our employment searches. So we'll go through some questions for the group. They will go through some examples together, some practical examples together to share out with you. And we're just looking forward to an exciting conversation and what strength-based employment is all about. So I will kick it over to Elizabeth Dicker to get us started now. Thank you for being here.
Okay, I was going to say I have a presentation. Okay. So I'm Elizabeth, and this past summer I went to the USA Games for track and field. So that is me in my USA Games outfit. That was in Orlando. I'm from New Jersey. I do figure skating, and I also do track and field. I'll talk about my jobs. I have a master's in special ed, but I'm going to talk about that. Can you hit the next slide?
Well, sure.
Like Casey said, I'm a Special Olympics athlete from New Jersey. I knew Casey when she was in New Jersey a few years ago, and I am almost 37. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and they ranged from teaching in a school to working in a sheltered workshop to doing pre-vocational programs to like being in a pre-vocational program. I think I've been in every setting and done everything. I think one of the things that I found, so I have autism, so having autism or a disability like that, one of the things I found is that people tend to just put you in boxes. I went to the vocational rehab services to get services, and they did this trial work sample. So they like tried me out in different jobs and stuff, and then we're like, you can go work in the sheltered workshop until your behavior gets better. That's literally all they would offer me. And it shouldn't be that way. People need to think outside the box. I've had jobs since then. I've kind of made my own jobs. I do consulting part-time, and I'm basically self-employed at this point. Hi, everybody. People are saying hi. So, okay, go to the next slide. So when you're thinking about jobs, even if these are volunteer jobs, even if these are part-time jobs, I think there's about 5 different areas to think about. Values is what's important to you in a job. Interests are things that you're interested in. Skills are kind of like what skills and strengths do you bring to the job. Experience is what experiences you have. And needs are kind of what your support needs or your accommodations would be in the job. Next slide. So what I have done, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So what I've done is I've made 5 different surveys, and they cover each of these areas. So there's one about values, one about strengths, one about experience, and Erica's taken the time to fill these out beforehand. So I'm going to go over them, some of the questions with you guys. You can answer in the chat, and then I'll go over Erica's answers, and we can kind of work through how you might pull this all together. So my values are things that are important to me in a job. So if you want to answer in the chat, we can discuss it. Things that might be important to you in a job are stuff like, would you want a job where you would work with other people, or do you want a job where you work by yourself? Do you want a job that you can get to by walking there? that's really close to you? Do you want a job where you might have to be driven there or drive there or take the train there? These are all different factors. I had a job on the farm once. Like, would you want a job that's outside? Would you want a job that's indoors, that's loud, that's quiet? Um, how would it fit your schedule? Full time, part time? I think I'm going to ask Casey to see if she can pull up the survey. She can kind of look at that as well.
For
And
sure.
I will check the chat in case anyone has any answers to what their values would be in a job. So far, I haven't seen anyone's answers. I'm looking. All right, we're going to pull up the sheet. So if you're interested in these surveys, I think Casey can share them with you afterwards. Oh, I see someone's answer. Just slow down a little bit. Okay. So all these surveys are kind of yes or no questions. If you were someone who maybe doesn't read, or you're working with someone who doesn't read, you could use pictures. You could have options. There's ways to adapt this survey. You could read the questions to the person, or you could read it yourself and circle it. So things like, I like to work by myself, or I get to work by myself in a job. Is that important to you? Yes or no? Can you scroll down a little bit? I'd want to work at night. I'd only want to work indoors. Are these things important to you? And keep going down. And does it go down a little further? I think so. Okay, and so then at the bottom, so you circled all these things, yes or no. And you kind of have to find, a few of them, up to 3 of them, that are the most, like your top 3 things that would be important to you. I'm going to go to the chat now because someone says, stop that yawning, it's contagious, because it's late at night and tired. Isabel said, I like a mix of alone time and working with my colleagues on projects. So yeah, I feel like most jobs are that. It's probably harder to find a job where you're totally alone all the time. I actually like being alone all the time. Like, remote work is a good idea. But most jobs, I think, do have like a combination of that. If you go back to the main one, I can hand over to Erica, and then Erica and I can talk about what she values in a job. I'm gonna try to stop yawning. I don't know if that's good. All right. So Erica, I put it up here so you could reference it. Oops, we switched a page. Okay. I put them up there so you can reference it, but do you want to talk a little bit about those 3 things that you put down and why they're
the ones at the bottom in the blue?
Yeah.
Or those are Erica's answers to the survey? Great.
So, like, why is working as part of a team important to you? To be able to work every day and not on the weekends? Why are these things important to you in a job?
I just like being part of a team. Like, at my work, we all work as a special ed team, so we all like help each other out, give each other feedback, things. Like working Monday through Friday, and not on the weekends, because I enjoy my weekends, get to go to Special Olympics activities and spend time with family. And driving to work there's independence.
Yeah, so those things are important to you. And I know you have a job right now, but if you were in the future looking for a job or a summer job, you'd want to kind of keep those things in mind. Like, I really kind of like remote work because I get to work by myself and don't have to interact with people. But you'd want to look for jobs that maybe weren't on the computer by yourself, ones that involve other people, ones where you have like a consistent schedule every day.
Yeah.
All right, can we go to the next one?
I am like you, Erica. I also like driving to work, like having somewhere to go. Makes me feel more independent personally.
Someone says they'd love to work with Special Olympics. Special Olympics is very cool. I live near the main. So I live in New Jersey, but I live near the main complex. So I don't know what jobs they have there, but that would be cool to work with people a little bit. So the second thing is a little more self-explanatory, which is just about your interests, things that you're interested in. Because if you're going to be at work a certain amount of hours a day, should be something that you have some kind of interest in. You can pull up the sheet that has the interests on it.
Go to the blank.
Yeah, the blank one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Emily also said she likes working with others, but also by herself. So a bit of both. So this is the same exact format. At the top, I put that your interests are things that you enjoy doing. And by looking at the things that you're interested in, you can kind of match those interests to something that you could do in a job. So some examples are if you like to make things, if you like to create things, if you like teaching people things, interacting with other people, working with animals, children, cooking, cleaning, computers. You can also add your own thing. Sometimes people have very specific interests as well. So again, at the bottom, you would put like, these are the 3 top things I'm interested in. If you want to comment in the chat, you can put some stuff that you guys are interested in. And then we'll go back.
Yep.
And we could talk to Erica. All right. So, Erica, do you want to just tell me a little about your interests?
I like helping with others, interacting with others, and just being myself on the job. Like when you work in the field that I work in, and helping the students learn is very important, and interacting with them, and just being yourself, like showing them that they can do more than what others think they can do.
Yeah, also being a role model.
Yeah, being a role model.
Being a role model, working with children as well.
And Erica, can you, since we're getting into it, can you share what your job is? I don't know if we've shared that yet.
I'm a special ed aide at Montgomery County Public Schools up in Christiansburg, Virginia.
And it's a K through 5, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I love that you put being myself as one of your interests. That's just an interest you have in your work environment. I think that is super, super valuable to identify that.
Yeah.
I think also when you look at work environments, I didn't write this in here, but when you look at work environments, you want to make sure that you're in an environment where people are appreciative and understanding and that you can be yourself, because just in general, some work environments are kind of toxic and you don't really want to be in a work environment where you feel like you have to hide parts of yourself. All right.
This is the one I feel like most people probably do. When we think about a job fit, we might not think about our needs, our values, or our interests as much, but I bet most people think of their skills, but just stop there. So I hope we get some folks in the chat on some good opinions on this, because I bet everyone has thought of this.
So when I'm talking about skills, I'm talking about those soft skills, those kind of like personality traits, not so much like I'm skilled at computers, but more about I'm skilled in areas of I'm dependable, I'm reliable, I am creative. So kind of thinking about how other people might describe you, or what kind of personality traits do you have, or what strengths in different areas do you have. Feel free to comment in the chat, and we can go to the
Does anyone have any that they want to share? What are we on? Skills?
We're on skills.
What's a skill that you have, Elizabeth, that you utilize?
Very determined. I think I'm very determined. Logical.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
flexible, self. Oh, can you stop for 1 second? So what
Yeah.
I did is sometimes like trustworthy is kind of hard to define. So I put like I'm trustworthy, yes or no. You can trust me to keep things private and do my job well. So I kind of put an example of what that would look like at work,
Mm,
or I have good time management skills means I get things done on time. I plan out when I get things done.
mm,
Oh, someone said that they like being on time too. Yeah, I like getting places early because then I'm not late. Having leadership skills. Oh, scroll down a little.
mhm,
So this is the reason I put you to write your strength or your skill and then examples is usually if you ever go to a job interview, people are going to ask you these kind of questions. So if you can kind of think about
mm,
those, if your skill was that you're dedicated, what would that look like? Um,
mm.
what are examples of that?
Give an
So
example.
we'll talk to Erica about that as well.
Now let's go to Erica's. So, one of my skills that I don't have is being on time. So that's something I would not say during an interview. I avoid that one, and I mention other skills that I have. All right. Erica's skills. Ooh, these are so good.
Um, it says I'm dependable, always early or on time for work. And for I'm always on time for work, dance class, Special Olympics. I'm usually about 10 or 15 minutes early to everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Those are great.
then,
So, Erica, can we look at your first skill that you mentioned, and what Elizabeth had shared? I'm really curious because she said to identify a strength skill and then an example, that a way you've used that in work or school. So can you share with one of the skills that you've shared, like a story or an example of a time when
So, like you
um,
said, you have a lot of empathy. Can you tell me about a time, like in school, when you really cared about someone, like a story about the time you
hmm,
cared about someone?
I always care about the students that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
hmm,
and no one I put down was empathy with Special Olympics. Just being there for the athletes when they need you. Um, One time I had an athlete that lives close to me. She needed help with some, she's going through a hard time, and so I went up and I hanged out with her with my dog for a little bit.
Yeah, that's empathetic, right? Showing how
hmm.
you care about other people.
I love that.
Um,
Elizabeth,
em-
it sounds
mhm.
like you're
Yeah,
saying that
then
examples.
my mom reminded me of we have some kids at school that don't that are low income, and
Hmm,
with my old running shoes, I gave them to
Oh,
kids.
that's cool.
that's really sweet. That's a great story. It's interesting, Elizabeth. I like that you're encouraging us to think about our skills and what we're good at, and then also to give examples. As you mentioned, job interviews that they might ask about that kind of stuff. So this is a really good exercise to do that. And Erica, I think your examples are so great that your work with Special Olympics shows that you're empathetic. You always care about your students. You give old running shoes to students who can't afford to buy new shoes like that. Those are such awesome examples. It sounds like they would really help if you were ever in the job hunt again and you were in an interview and they wanted to ask you about that soft skill. That's a really great way of describing it. So I really value that you shared that. Thank you.
Emily also wrote in the chat. Um, Should I read it out loud? I don't know who can see the chat.
Sure, you can read it out loud.
Emily Bauer said, Special Olympics Virginia is the best work environment. I guess you work there, probably.
She does.
Cool. They're so accepting of me and my disability, and I love working there. I used to work in a dog kennel, but that wasn't really the best fit because it was a loud environment. Yeah. That would be hard for me too because it's really loud. I like animals, but not that many animals at one time. That'd be a lot.
We're happy to have her too.
So this one is my experience. So I guess like skills and experience are usually the things people ask you in interviews. Like, what experience have you had in the past? And that doesn't mean you necessarily have had to have paid job experience. You could have had volunteer jobs or an internship at one point. And can you go to the slide?
Yes.
And then we'll talk to Erica.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yep. So same format. So these ones, unlike soft skills, I think are technically called hard skills, but they're basically what your experience is in. So do you have skills in customer service, computers, retail, teaching? Scroll down. There's more. I just, you can definitely put things that you have experience on that are not listed on here, but these were just some examples. Scroll a bit more. And then within things, I put stuff like the arts has singing, instrumental things, drawing, painting, because there's a lot more things in the arts than just art. Keep going. So then this, so this one's kind of written like the skills one again, where you would say what your experience is and then give an example. And so if we go back to the main page, you can talk to Erica about what she had put on hers.
I'm excited for these, Erica.
So can you explain a little bit about what you've had experience? I'm not even sure what MCEOP is.
That's supposed to be MC.
Oh, I spelled it wrong.
Emergency.
Oh.
MCEAP.
Oh.
But that stands for the Montgomery County Emergency Assistance Program.
What is that?
It's what?
Thrift store.
It's a thrift store that we have up here.
Okay.
I volunteer there, like hanging up clothes, going through the clothes, making sure that they're like good clothes, like they don't smell or anything. And then public speaking is, well, I took a public speaking class in college.
Cool.
And being a global messenger for Special Olympics, so we do a lot of public speaking for that. And then I have done some work with children. I did babysitting when I was younger, childcare.
Cool. Yeah.
And now I'm a one-on-one aide in the school system, so
that's cool.
This is great. And I feel like so we've gone through 4 elements so far. We've gone through values, interests, skills, and now experience with you, Erica. And it's really kind of neat to see how these are building on one another. And as we get to our last element of kind of exploring strength-based employment, it seems like, and Elizabeth, I'm curious from your perspective, it seems like we should be able to hone in as we go and kind of maybe I start to identify certain industries or certain types of key jobs we might think would be best for us. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So what my idea would be is that if someone was to do this and do all the surveys, that you would then sit down and kind of put this all together. And I think 2 slides from now, maybe I did that. So I
Okay.
took all of Erica's answers, and so we can kind of see them
Okay.
lined up and see how that would all like come together.
I jumped ahead. We have
Okay.
we have a note in the chat from Emily working at the SPCA and St. Mary's Hospital, and then yeah, also a dog kennel, which was nice. I think one of the examples in this in the experiences was working with animals.
Mhm.
I have a dog.
Mm. Well, I love what Emily had mentioned is, there's that love of animals, but I think what we're going to be getting to in the next one, Elizabeth, when we talk about our needs, is going to help maybe identify where um, maybe help to hone in some of that stuff. I know Emily said the environment was too loud. So it sounds like that starts to get into certain needs we might have with particular things that might make us feel uncomfortable, sensory needs, that kind of thing. So I feel like that's a perfect segue, Emily, into talking about our needs.
So when we think about things that we need at work, um, I think everyone needs things at work, whether you have a disability or not. It's important to know what your needs are and express them. But what I'm kind of getting at here is if you have a disability and you work somewhere, you're entitled to accommodations depending on what your disability is. And accommodations are basically just things that you need at work to make work successful. And they shouldn't be things that, so when people hire you to do a job, they're expecting that you can do the job. Accommodations are things that help you do the job, but they wouldn't change your entire job. So you can't really ask for things like, oh, you signed up for a job for 6 hours a day and now you only want to work 2 hours a day. You can't change it that much, but you can ask for accommodations like, oh, can I take a break at this point in time, or can I have my break at a different time? Because yeah. So we just switched the slide. Can you go back again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, because we switched to this part. That's why. That's okay.
Yeah, does this work?
Yeah, it's fine. Can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
Sometimes in jobs, it's just not a good environment. So if you really don't like dogs barking, you can't really have an accommodation for that other than wearing headphones. But if you're wearing headphones and still the dogs are driving you a little nuts, then that's maybe not the right job for you. So an accommodation is to help you in a job to make it a good fit. Okay, so it says accommodations and supports people. Oh, can you scroll up a little bit because I wrote
scroll up? Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have some things at work that I need support in. I can get support at work for accommodations. I wonder if Emily, who is more active in the chat, can tell me if she gets any accommodations at work and what those might be. If you want to tell me that, you want to say that. Accommodations and support for people who have disabilities. You can get accommodations at work to be successful on the job. So some examples are having a little extra time to be able to complete it, having a job coach at work, having a mentor at work. Some of these I've had, so these are kind of from my experience. There's probably way more other. There's a thing called the Job Accommodation Network. You can Google it, and they give lists of jobs for different disabilities. I also have a helpline. Scroll down a little bit.
Yep.
And so this would be things that you need as accommodations, and then why is that important? So if I need a break, why would that be important in my day? And Erica did a really good job explaining why her accommodations are important.
All right. Let's go to it.
we might want to for this one, if you have what Erica wrote in sentences, that might be
Um,
easier.
yeah, I have it written down,
Oh,
but
you have.
I don't. I personally don't have any accommodations at my work,
Okay.
but these are ones that that if I ever need them,
Hmm.
then these would be ones that I would want.
So in the future, you could, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. They're things,
Yeah.
yeah, and some people don't need accommodations, and that's fine as well. But it's good to think about things you might need because work changes. Like all of a sudden, you might have a classroom and a teacher that you're comfortable with, and now the teacher changed, and you need to have a mentor to help you with that or something.
Hmm.
Oh, Emily wrote
Yeah.
in the chat here. Um, I began working with a job coach to help me in my orientation. She helped me set up the notebook with all the tasks type out, and that's really helped. Yeah, going by lists and things is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be an accommodation because it doesn't change your job description or what you do in your job. It's just something to help support you
Mm-hmm.
with your job.
Um. So with the instructions written down
Mm-hmm.
is for like when we're moving from student to student, because there's always changing us around. So just to know like how the like what to do if the student has like a meltdown or whatever, and like what they want you to do to
Mm-hmm.
help the student. Um, it's always good to have a mentor
Mm.
that you can ask questions and look up to. And
Is Andrea someone who works at school? Like, is she one of your colleagues or?
yeah, she's a coworker.
Yeah.
Um, and then taking breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that some kids are very hyper and active, and sometimes I just need to take like a 2 minute break and to recuperate, and then I go back in and work.
Hmm. Hmm. I really love this, Erica, especially the second one about a mentor. I think that is so vital. And you mentioned, I think having a mentor is really great, but a lot of work environments don't have mentorship program or anything. And so, kind of to what even Elizabeth, you were saying earlier, that you might not need very specific accommodations, but it's good to know that you might value and benefit from a mentor. So then if work becomes really tiring or your days are too stressful than they probably should be, or you're feeling overwhelmed a lot more often, like, I think this sounds like it's a great tool to have, to be able to say to your employer, or in your case, Erica, your school, to say, if you don't already have a mentor, to say, I would really value a mentor, and kind of advocate for yourself too. Does that sound on track, Elizabeth, that these are really valuable things to also advocate to your employer?
Yeah. And I think it's not necessarily all because you have a disability. I think most people struggle in things at work and could use this as well.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah. That
having a
would
mentor or knowing that person doesn't have to be an official thing, but knowing like, oh, I can always go to this person if I'm having a hard day or I don't know what's happening or something changed and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing now or something.
Sure. I mean, and I think that gets into a little bit of the universal design and sphere a little bit, which we don't really have time for tonight, but certainly in creating jobs, and most companies are trying to create jobs that can kind of strike that right line of providing support. And I think when we look at the need for support and accommodation as just an additional element of doing successful work, and not weakness, then I think that's when we can really see people with disabilities and workplaces thrive even more. So,
I think also, so job coaches, they come in and they help you and they get things set up and get you settled and everything, and then they fade out to the point where maybe they're there like once a month,
mhm,
um, if that. And it's really important that you have natural supports in your environment because you need to know who to go to. You need to know how to advocate for your needs and things because sometimes in that month when the job coach isn't there, something is going to happen and you don't want to lose your job within that month because you didn't know how to deal with that situation.
Hmm.
So
That's a
hopefully
great
job
point.
coaches get better at teaching like advocacy and teaching the people around you how to help as
Hmm.
well.
These activities are good for that too. And I did highlight Emily's because she referenced having a job coach and at least helping her orient into her role. So,
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you want to go to the next one?
sure.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Erica, that you want to share at this on this slide?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Ooh.
So this is how I like to look at things. So unfortunately, Erica has a C in her name, and I put a K all over the place because I did not know this. But ignore the fact that I
It's okay.
missed. Um, but this is something that you could just do for yourself as well. So in each column, I just literally put what Erica had written in those top three things. And
Hmm.
then in the bottom, I wrote, which I'll read out loud, something about Erica that relates specifically to these five things. So say
Hmm.
Erica was trying to get a summer job or something. This is something she could have written about herself. Eric is a very dependable and empathetic person who is currently working as a special education school aide. She would like to look for jobs that are part time, that she could drive to, that's during weekday hours. She's interested in helping other people. She enjoys interacting with others and being herself. She would benefit from a mentor on the job as well as being given written instructions and being able to take breaks as needed. So it kind of opens it up to other job possibilities. So even if you worked in a hospital, that could be a different setting, but you need to be dependable, you need to be caring, you need to interact with other people. You could have a hospital schedule where you only work on weekdays, and you could get your accommodations met.
Hmm. What do you think looking at this kind of all in one slide, Erica?
It's pretty cool
Yeah.
I
seeing
agree.
it all like in this one format instead of just trying to like come up with it and write it down.
I think pulling all those factors together, and I think also um, some schools do better transition programs than other schools do. But when you're 21 and you're looking for a job or something, it's helpful to be able to pull all your skills and experience and things together so you have something to say about yourself. Because I feel like not many programs I know about in Prevoke teach um, transition or job training as much as they should be doing. You can go to the last slide if you want.
Sure, yeah. Well, I also love, I did want to say too, I love um the paragraph description because I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes it's difficult to I think it's difficult for anybody to think about these all of these five elements, values, interests, skills, experience, and needs or accommodations, and then try to put it all together. And just as you wrote, put it all together in something that really sounds best word I can think of right now is like marketable or something that sounds appealing and that you would be proud to share with an employer. So I really love this example that you provided. And what is, I think, my favorite part about it is that this is all Erica. Like, this isn't that Elizabeth, you are really good with words or a good writer and all these, or that you inflated, made it sound better than what she wrote. This is everything that Erica wrote, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's such a beautiful summary. I think Izzy put great snapshot of how amazing Erica is, and it's really true. And so I think this is in just one paragraph, a lot is covered, and it is I think it sounds like a really effective system and process for entering into the job hunt.
I
So I'm
think
just a big fan of this process and what you've gone through with us.
I think also a lot of interviews are verbal based. They do it mostly on how you can answer the interview questions. So if you're able to take time to go through something like this, so say if you have someone who has more limited language, but you went through the surveys and you figured out, based on them and what they said or indicated, um, then you can come up with something like this and you can kind of pre-think about what you would tell other people when you are kind of selling yourself in an interview for a job or putting yourself out there for a job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Love that comment. See that, Erica? All right. We'll go to the next page.
So the next page is if anyone has questions. We haven't had a very chatty group, but if there were any questions, you could ask them. Casey has all the copies of blank worksheets, which she can send to you, or you have a form.
So I'm going to post in the chat in the Special Olympics. Here, I'll just go to our main page. I'm going to post it via the Special Olympics Virginia account. Just a simple simple online form. You can put your first name, last name, and your email address, click submit, and I will send you all 5 of the worksheets. So again, that is a values worksheet, an interests worksheet, a skills worksheet, experience worksheet, and then a needs worksheet. So I think this is great for athletes, people with disabilities, and people without disabilities, as Elizabeth has said. So I will put that into the chat now for you all, and then I'll show you here. So this is what you're looking for. It's a Special Olympics va.wufoo.com form. So feel free to click that link at any point during the next last couple of minutes here, and you can fill that out. And I can also make this available to anyone else that reaches out to me directly if you'd like to. So
I think also when I was writing these worksheets, I was thinking of it kind of as a preference assessment, like what do you prefer, this or this? What do you prefer, this or this? So for people who have less language, you can have 2 pictures, you can have 2 choices, and there's ways to adapt it more. I know I put it in writing, but there's ways to adapt it.
That's a really great point.
Abdul says hi.
Yes. Hi, Abdul. Erica, I'm a little bit curious about your kind of experience going through this. Is this something you've done before? Was this helpful for you? And did anything surprise you when you were going through these worksheets? Anything new that you found out about yourself? You don't have to share, but any reflections that you have overall?
It's fun doing the worksheets, just seeing what I thought my strengths were. So just like going to interview, and then they'll be like, "What are your strengths?" And then you're just like,
Good practice.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. Yeah, great point.
It's a good reflection and practice.
Yeah.
And especially, I love too, like you even having a job and doing this, because a workplace is a practice environment for us to learn more about ourselves. And so I learn a lot more about my strengths and my needs in my work environment, as I bet you do, from being a special education aide. Over the years, you've probably learned more and more about what you're really good at, or what you really like, or what you need to grow in, and that kind of thing. So this seems like a really great activity to do, whether you're looking for a job or you have a job and you might want to change in the future.
I think people have 7 jobs average in their lifetime.
So it's good practice to do this a few times.
There's also things like summer jobs, part-time jobs. There's, volunteer jobs. So I feel like even if you have a job that's pretty steady, there's probably going to be times in your life where you try out different things.
That is very true. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. No one has anything else for us.
Someone does. I don't know if that question is for me or Erica, though. Isabel wrote a question.
She can qualify that, but I'll put it up here, and I think either or both of you can answer if you'd like.
I mean, we both could. We have time.
Yeah. It's a good question. The question is, I'll ask it. She says both. How has your experience as an athlete helped in your job? Does it translate?
I guess mine's sort of, because when you have kids that run around everywhere, then you sort of have to run after them.
You're
Yeah.
well trained.
I think
And being time management is good.
Time management, you said?
Yeah.
Do you mean time management? Is that a skill you've learned or improved at practices, like learning how to train? Can you expand on that?
or like showing up on time.
Yeah, showing up on time, being on
Mm,
time.
mm. Right, your timeliness. I understand. Elizabeth?
Oh, okay. I think I did not speak when I was younger, like literally. So, and also have no interest in other people. It's gotten better. Being a part of Special Olympics, I'm more interested in other people now. So that definitely helps in jobs. I have a hard time. I get jobs easily because I can ace interviews. Keeping jobs is really hard.
Hmm.
Um, but I think in Special Olympics, being around other people has helped me want to talk to other people more and practice my skills of talking more. I'm very good at lecturing and things. I'm not as good as like social conversations, and that's what happens a lot in workplaces.
Hmm. Hmm. What a great thing to identify, and to identify the value of Special Olympics for that. Yeah, that social piece is huge. Hmm. Thanks for both sharing that. Thanks for the great question too. So I think we're nearing our time, and thank you all. I will pop this up for their last few seconds just to remind folks if they want to click the link and fill out the form for the strength-based employment worksheets that Elizabeth has gone through during the presentation. And I'll kick it over to you. Well, thank you both for leading us in this. This is a really fantastic activity. And then I'll kick it to Elizabeth for any final words or any wrap up that you have. And if you don't, that's totally okay. And we will say see you later and next month to everyone else.
I just think talking about strengths based employment is just it's really important to identify your strengths and think outside the box, especially if maybe your disability affects things that you would typically do academically. So if you're not a person who's going to college and you don't have those academic strengths to rely on, thinking outside the box about like, well, maybe math isn't my strong point, but I'm super dependable and reliable and creative, and thinking about all these other outside the box kind of strengths and interests that you can use in future employment.
Thinking outside the box. Really love that. Well, so thank you so much, Elizabeth Dicker, Erica Bookout. We will see everyone next month, last Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. on our stream. Thanks for joining us tonight. Bye.